That moment? It carved a hole in my chest deeper than any battlefield ever could. I dropped my duffel bag on the porch like it weighed 1,000 pounds. My boots still covered in Afghan dust, dog tags clinking around my neck, heartbeat drumming like enemy fire. My kid, 8-year-old Ethan, stood in front of me with those big innocent eyes, clutching a toy car, as if he just told me we were out of milk. I knelt down, grabbed him by the shoulders, and asked again, slower, trying to make it make sense. Did you say she's getting married? Right now? To Nick? He nodded. At church. She said it's a fresh start. A fresh start. I didn't have time to cry. My fists were already clenched, and something inside me, something primal, had snapped. 2 years on foreign soil. 2 years dodging bullets, saving lives, dreaming of home, of her. Of the woman who promised to wait. Now she's in a damn wedding dress, smiling down the aisle, while I'm standing here like some ghost from a forgotten life. The church wasn't far. Maybe 5-6 blocks. I didn't take the car. I ran, my heart pounding harder with every step, thoughts spinning. Her smile, her lies, our wedding day flashing in my mind, and Nick, my best friend since high school. We went to war together, got drunk on rooftops, cried over our dead brothers. I told him everything about her, and he stabbed me right between the ribs. I reached St. Thomas's Chapel just in time. The bells were ringing. I yanked the heavy doors open so hard they slammed into the walls. Heads turned. Gasps erupted. Her parents, my parents, even my baby sister, everyone sat there frozen like I was a ghost. I saw her, Emily, standing at the altar, dressed in white, like some twisted joke, veil pushed back, bouquet in hand. Nick stood next to her, pale as hell. Emily's face dropped when she saw me. Oh my God, she whispered. That was her first reaction. Not joy, not guilt, just annoyance. Oh my God. My voice echoed through the room like a gunshot. You cheating piece of garbage. Nick took a step forward, raising his hands like he was defusing a bomb. Bro. Don't you bro me. I charged at him, and before anyone could stop me, my fist connected with his smug, backstabbing jaw. He collapsed like a sack of trash, knocking over some stupid flower arrangement. Screams broke out. Her mom yelled. My mom gasped. My son clung to my sister's hand. Emily ran toward me, clawing at my chest. You're ruining everything, she screamed. Ruining? You ruined our whole damn life. You left us, she shrieked, spitting each word like venom. 2 years. No calls, no visits, just gone. I needed a man, not a coward hiding behind camo. That word. Coward. It didn't sting. It burned. And the worst part? She said it loud, so everyone could hear. I looked around the church. Our family sat there in stunned silence. Nobody stopped her. Nobody defended me. I wasn't just betrayed, I was abandoned. Nick groaned from the floor, blood trailing from his lip. You were gone, man, he muttered. You left her to rot. She was mine to rot with, I snapped. Emily slapped me. Hard. Get out. You're disgusting. You're nothing now. This is my life. She turned to the priest and barked, keep going. Let's finish this damn wedding. Can you believe that? Blood on the altar. A bruised man on the floor. And she still wanted her fairy tale ending. But I wasn't done. I turned to the pews. Mom, Dad, you sat through this. My father looked down. My mother whispered, we didn't know how to stop her. We thought you were dead. I growled. I walked to my son, knelt down. I'm not dead, buddy. I came home for you. He nodded. His lip quivered. I know, Dad. I took his hand, turned to Emily. This isn't over. And I walked out, blood boiling, fists throbbing, mind racing. She thought she could bury me while I was still breathing. Now I'm gonna burn everything she ever touched. I didn't go home. Home wasn't home anymore. That house, our house, where I painted the baby's room with my own hands, where we danced barefoot in the kitchen at midnight, now it was a crime scene in my heart. Instead, I took Ethan and crashed at a cheap motel on the edge of town. A place that smelled like old cigarettes and betrayal. Fitting. He fell asleep hugging my arm. I stayed awake, staring at the ceiling, the events of the day playing on repeat in my head like a horror film stuck on loop. Emily's words echoed loudest. You're nothing now. The woman I dreamed of during gunfire, the one whose name I whispered when I thought I'd die, had stood at the altar with my best friend while our son watched from the pew. I didn't just lose a wife. I lost my whole damn identity. The next morning, I started digging. I needed answers. Not just for me, for Ethan. He deserved the truth. Not the candy-coated crap she was feeding him. So I called up my old buddy Kyle, A guy who still owed me a favor from Iraq. He worked cyber forensics now. Not exactly legal, but let's just say he could find out anything. You sure you want this? He asked. I need to know how long this has been going on, I said. And how deep? It took him 2 hours. He sent me screenshots, emails, texts, photos. Emily and Nick had been seeing each other for over a year and a half. While I was risking my life, they were playing house in my bed. Dates, weekend trips. She sent him photos of herself in lingerie, my lingerie captioned with things like, I never felt this alive, and he's not coming back. One message hit me harder than a sniper shot. If he comes back, I'll tell him the marriage was already dead. He's too broken to fight for anything anyway. She didn't just cheat. She planned my replacement. I stared at the screen until my vision blurred. It all started to make sense. The coldness in her voice during our rare phone calls. How she always rushed off the video chat. How Ethan never seemed to be around when I called. She was already with Nick back then. I slammed my phone down and punched the motel wall so hard I split my knuckles open. Blood dripped onto the carpet. I didn't care. I felt nothing. Or maybe I felt everything, all at once. Rage, disgust, sorrow, humiliation. I didn't sleep that night either. The next morning, I took Ethan to school and told him I had a surprise for him later. He smiled, but I saw the confusion behind his eyes. I wasn't the only one she betrayed. She poisoned his childhood. I drove to her house. Her car was in the driveway. I let myself in with my key. She didn't bother changing the locks. She probably assumed I'd crawl away somewhere and drink myself into silence like some broken soldier. But I'm not broken. I'm awake now. She was in the kitchen, on the phone, laughing, wearing my hoodie. Get off the phone, I said, my voice flat. She turned, startled, then rolled her eyes. What the hell are you doing here? This is still my house. Not for long. I stepped closer. I know everything. The texts. The pictures. The nights you spent in our bed. Her face went pale for a split second, but just as fast, she snapped back into her usual cold smirk. So? You left. I moved on. Get over it. You lied to her son. To your family. To my family. And you had the audacity to call me a coward? She shrugged. You were always too weak to keep me interested. That was her game, twist the knife and smile while doing it. I leaned in close. I came back early to surprise you. To marry you again, Em. I had a second ring in my bag. Her eyes flickered, but no apology came. Just silence. I walked away before I did something I'd regret. But this war was far from over. 2 days later, I met Nick. No, not by accident. I made the meeting happen. I knew his routine. He still worked at that smug finance firm downtown, the same place where I helped him get his first job 10 years ago. I waited across the street in my truck, engine running, watching the front doors like a hawk. When he stepped out in his tailored blue suit, sipping some overpriced iced coffee like nothing had happened, I saw red. I got out. Calm. Measured. But inside, I was a storm waiting to explode. He didn't notice me until I was a few steps away. Then his face dropped like a kid caught with his hand in the cookie jar. Tyler, he started, voice thin. Look, man. I didn't let him finish. I grabbed him by the collar and slammed him into the glass of the coffee shop behind him. People gasped. Someone yelled for security. Speak carefully, I growled, inches from his face. I've already cracked your jaw once. This time, I won't stop there. He held up his hands. I didn't mean for it to happen like this. You didn't mean? I spat. You slept with my wife, you worm. You played catch with my son while sneaking into my bed. How long, Nick? How long were you betraying me with that woman? He stammered. A year. A little more. Why? He hesitated. Then, like a true coward, he deflected. She said you changed. Said you were distant. That you didn't call. That she cried every night. I actually laughed. It wasn't even funny, it was hollow, bitter. I called every night, Nick. I begged her to send me photos of Ethan. I sent her letters, money, gifts. I had a ring made for our anniversary. And you were here, what, playing house with my wife? Screwing her while I was dodging bullets? He didn't say a word. Good. I released his shirt and stepped back. I'm not done, I said. You think this is just about betrayal? It's not. You gave her comfort while I was gone. Fine. But you stood at that altar in front of my son. You looked him in the eye and pretended to be his father. Nick opened his mouth, but I turned and walked away. He wasn't worth another word. That night, Emily texted me. You need to stop causing scenes. You're embarrassing yourself. I stared at the message for a long time, then sent her back one photo, just one. It was the screenshot of her telling Nick, if he comes back, I'll tell him the marriage was already dead. She didn't reply. The next morning, I got a call from my lawyer friend, Jenna. She and I had known each other since college. She always had my back. When I told her the whole story, she didn't waste a breath. Let's ruin her. I started collecting everything. Photos, messages, bank statements, proof that she used my deployment as her excuse to cheat, lie, and manipulate. That woman didn't just betray me emotionally, she drained our savings account while I was away. Spent thousands on vacations, spa days, fancy clothes, all while pretending to struggle raising Ethan on her own. She was wearing $400 shoes while telling the neighbors she was barely getting by. And Nick? That gutless clown financed half her little fantasy world. Paid for hotel rooms, dinners, even a trip to Cancun during our wedding anniversary. I'd been in the desert sweating bullets, thinking about her every damn second. While she was sipping cocktails by a pool, I felt sick. But it got worse. One night, Ethan came into my motel room crying. She said, I don't have to call you Dad anymore, he whispered. She said I can call Nick that instead. I froze. She was poisoning him against me. That was the moment I stopped feeling pain and started planning war. She wanted a clean break. A wedding, a new life, full custody. She thought I'd just fade away into the background. But I wasn't done. This wasn't over. She tried to erase me from the picture. Now I was going to make sure she never forgot who I was. 3 days later, I walked into family court with a folder full of dynamite. Emails, bank statements, audio recordings, screenshots of Emily's texts to Nick, disgusting, mocking, cruel. I even had a copy of the wire transfers she made using our joint account to book hotels, spa weekends, and designer junk while telling me she couldn't afford new shoes for Ethan. Jenna, my lawyer, was a beast in heels. Calm, sharp, and absolutely ruthless. She looked through my documents, nodded, and said only one thing before the hearing. She's gonna bleed. And she did. Emily came in looking like she always did, overconfident, smug, in a dress too short for court. Nick wasn't with her. Probably hiding under a rock after what I did to him outside that coffee shop. She smiled like she already won, like the court would just hand her everything because she's pretty and plays the victim. But the moment Jenna stood up, that smile cracked. Your Honor, she began, my client, Tyler, is a returning military veteran who spent the last 2 years serving overseas while his wife, Emily, emptied his accounts and began an extramarital affair with his best friend. We have evidence showing not only the financial betrayal but an intentional effort to alienate his son from him. Emily's lawyer, a nervous guy with a comb-over and a tie that screamed public defender, stood no chance. He objected, fumbled, asked for recesses, but it was over before it began. I watched Emily's face lose all color as Jenna dropped photo after photo on the table. One image showed Nick and Emily in matching robes at a luxury spa. The timestamp? The same week I was nearly killed in a convoy ambush. She knew. I had emailed her from a hospital bed. She didn't even reply. The judge ordered a temporary freeze on all joint assets. Full custody hearing scheduled. She tried to speak, said I was aggressive, scary, unfit. Jenna calmly handed the judge the footage of Emily screaming at Ethan at a birthday party, calling me a worthless coward. Her voice cracked when she realized it was recorded. She had no idea I'd been documenting everything since I got back. After the hearing, she stormed out of the courtroom and waited for me outside like she was ready for round 2. You think you're smart, huh? She snapped, dragging me through court like I'm some villain? I stared at her, calm as hell. You are the villain, Emily. You cheated. You lied. You stole. And you tried to erase me from my son's life. She scoffed. You're not winning, Tyler. I'll take Ethan. I'll take the house. You think one hearing scares me? No, I said, but the truth scares you. She stepped closer. You were never enough for me. That's the real truth. There it was. The mask fully off. I nodded slowly, then walked away. Later that night, I picked up Ethan from school. We went to the diner near the motel, sat in our old booth. He ate pancakes for dinner and smiled for the first time in weeks. Do I have to live with Mom? He asked quietly. I took his hand. We're gonna fight for what's right, okay? I'm not going anywhere. Ever again. He looked at me with those same eyes that had seen too much already. She yells at me when I talk about you. My stomach twisted. Then we'll make sure you don't have to hear her yell anymore. That night, I opened my laptop and wrote a letter, not to Emily, not to the court, but to myself. A letter to remember who I was. A man who went to war and survived. A father. A fighter. A husband who got stabbed in the back but didn't stay down. She thought I'd break. She had no idea I was just getting started. Emily didn't know I had people watching her. After court, she got cocky. Thought the worst was behind her. Thought I'd go crawl into some hole and let her play happy house with Nick. But I had something better than revenge. I had patience. And a plan. Kyle, my old army buddy turned digital bloodhound, was still working behind the scenes. While she paraded around town acting like the queen of destruction, Kyle was digging into her phone records, her emails, and every digital footprint she left behind. It's amazing what a woman will say when she thinks no one's listening. One night, Kyle called me, voice tight with excitement. "You're gonna want to hear this," he said. "I found her second account." "Second what?" "Email. She's been using it for months. Mostly to talk about you. In the court. But get this, she's been discussing a fake abuse claim." I froze. "What?" "She's planning to tell the court you hit her. That Ethan saw it. She's setting you up, man." I went cold. She wasn't just evil, she was dangerous. She was willing to lie under oath, drag our son into it, and try to destroy what was left of me to get full custody. I clenched my jaw so hard it hurt. "Can you get proof?" Kyle didn't answer. Instead, he sent a voice recording. Emily's voice, crystal clear. "If he doesn't give me the house, I'll tell the court he got violent. Maybe say Ethan saw it. It'll scare the judge enough. I'll cry. They'll believe me." My stomach turned. I nearly dropped the phone. It wasn't just betrayal anymore. It was war. I sent the recording to Jenna. Her reply was short. "We'll burn her to the ground." A week later, Emily showed up at the motel. Uninvited. She knocked like she owned the place. I opened the door, found her standing there in tight jeans and a leather jacket, playing the part of the misunderstood ex. "We need to talk," she said, brushing past me. I shut the door. She looked around at the worn-out walls and scoffed. "Nice place. Living the dream, huh? What do you want, Emily?" She turned, fake tears already forming. "I think we've been too hard on each other. Ethan's the one suffering. Maybe we can work something out, no court." I stared at her. "You mean drop the custody case?" She nodded. "Maybe. If you give me the house. And agree to supervised visitation. Just until things cool down." There it was. The trap. She thought she was being clever. I leaned against the table. "And if I don't?" Her eyes darkened. "Then I'll tell the court you hit me." "You sure you want to go down that road?" I asked, almost smiling. She crossed her arms. "You think they won't believe me?" "I know they won't." I picked up my phone, pressed play. Her voice filled the motel room. "If he doesn't give me the house, I'll tell the court he got violent." She turned ghost white. "You recorded me?" I leaned in close. "No, Emily. You recorded you. I just had someone smart enough to find it." She exploded. "You're insane. You're sick." "No," I said. "I'm finally sane. And you just buried your case." She slapped the phone out of my hand. I didn't flinch. "You're done," I said. "Take your lies, your fake tears, and get the hell out of my life." She screamed something I can't even remember. It was just noise by then. I didn't react. I just opened the door and held it open. She stormed out. But this time, she wasn't the one in control. That night, I sat with Ethan as he watched cartoons, his laughter cutting through the darkness like a flashlight in a tunnel. For the first time in months, I felt something I thought I'd lost. Peace. The storm was far from over. But now, I had the high ground. 2 days after Emily's meltdown at the motel, I walked into court with a calm so sharp it could cut steel. Jenna had printed transcripts. Kyle had timestamped the files. We had everything locked in, ready to drop a bomb in front of the judge that would make Emily's lies fall apart like a house of cards. She came in late, dressed like she was going to brunch with her fake friends. Her lawyer looked nervous, flipping through papers he hadn't prepared for. I almost felt bad for the guy. Almost. The judge looked at both sides. "We're here to discuss custody of Ethan Marshall. Has anything new come to light since our last session?" Jenna stood. "Yes, Your Honor. My client has obtained evidence that the mother, Ms. Emily Marshall, intended to file a false abuse claim against him for leverage in this court. We have a voice recording of her admitting this, along with supporting digital communications." The courtroom fell silent. The judge raised a brow. "Proceed." Jenna clicked her pen, calm as a surgeon. Exhibit C. Recording, dated last Thursday. Audio verified. She played the recording. Emily's voice came through loud and clear. "If he doesn't give me the house, I'll tell the court he got violent. Maybe say Ethan saw it." The silence after it ended was crushing. Emily didn't look up. Her lawyer leaned toward her, whispering something frantically. She just sat there, hands in her lap, completely exposed. I looked at her, and for the first time, I didn't see the woman I used to love. I saw the shell of a manipulator caught in her own game. The judge exhaled. Ms. Marshall, do you deny that this is your voice? Emily finally spoke. I was angry. I didn't mean it. It was taken out of context. Context, the judge repeated. You threatened to use your child and a false claim of abuse to manipulate the outcome of this court. That's not context. That's perjury and child endangerment. Her lawyer asked for a recess. Denied. The gavel came down like thunder. Until further notice, Mr. Marshall is granted temporary sole custody. Ms. Marshall will be allowed supervised visitation only, pending further investigation. This court does not tolerate weaponizing a child or the justice system. Emily started crying. Real tears this time. But no one in that courtroom cared anymore. I stood still. I didn't smile. Didn't gloat. I just placed my hand on the table and breathed deep, full, alive. Outside the courtroom, she chased after me. Tyler, please. I didn't think you'd go this far. I turned around, slow. You were ready to ruin me. To take my son and turn him against me. You think I care about how far this goes now? She reached for my arm. I stepped back. I loved you, she said. Desperate now? Once. No, I said, my voice like ice. You love control. And I gave it to you. But not anymore. You're really going to do this to me? She whispered. I didn't do anything to you, Emily. You did this to yourself. And I walked away, leaving her standing in the courthouse parking lot, mascara running, clutching her purse like it was her last lifeline. That night, Ethan and I celebrated. Not with cake or streamers, just the two of us, pizza on the motel bed, watching Back to the Future for the 5th time. He leaned against me like he used to before everything went sideways. You're not going to leave again, right? He asked. I looked at him, hand on his shoulder. Never again. The war was almost over. But I wasn't finished yet. Emily still had my house. Still had access to accounts she drained. Still walked free like she hadn't tried to destroy everything I was. And as much as I wanted peace, I wasn't done taking back what she stole. The next step wasn't about rage. It was about balance. She took too much time, money, my name, my son's peace of mind. Now that the courts saw through her lies, it was time to get the rest of my life back. And that meant reclaiming the house. Not because I needed the walls or the furniture, but because it was mine. I built that place with busted knuckles and a soldier's paycheck. Every corner held a piece of who I used to be. And she defiled it. After the custody win, Emily went quiet. No texts. No late-night threats. I think the court stripped away the last mask she had. Now she was just a woman caught in a lie, exposed and cornered. But I knew her too well to think she'd walk away without trying something underhanded. So I stayed one step ahead. I filed a motion to freeze the remaining accounts and launch a formal review into how our joint funds had been used while I was deployed. Jenna helped connect me with a financial investigator, an old friend of hers named Darnell who had a gift for sniffing out fraud. Within a week, he found everything. Emily had been moving money from our joint account into a hidden savings fund. Over $46,000. Bit by bit. Transfer by transfer. And it didn't stop there. There were purchases under fake business names. A designer bag boutique in Arizona. A skin clinic in New York. Charges from hotel bars in Vegas when she was supposed to be visiting her mother. Darnell put together a clean, brutal dossier. I dropped it off with Jenna, who smiled like a shark with blood in the water. You ready to push this all the way? I didn't come this far to let her keep the spoils. We filed suit. Meanwhile, Ethan and I moved out of the motel and into a temporary rental. It was small, old, had a leaky faucet and carpets from the 90s, but it was ours. I made pancakes every morning and walked him to school. I helped with math homework, even when I barely understood it myself. And at night, when he asked if his mom could come over, I stayed honest without turning bitter. She's got to fix some things first, buddy, but you can still love her. That part's not wrong. His eyes told me he understood more than he should have. The day of the asset hearing, Emily showed up looking nothing like the woman from the wedding. Her hair was messy, her eyes sunken. That fake power she'd worn like armor was gone. I almost felt something. Not pity, just the memory of love that once existed between us. A version of her that didn't survive the war I didn't know we were in. Jenna presented the evidence. All of it. Account transfers. Hidden funds. Misuse of joint credit. Misappropriation of child support. Emily didn't fight back. She didn't even speak. Her lawyer just kept shaking his head like he couldn't believe what he'd walked into. The judge ruled quickly. My accounts were restored. The house was awarded to me. Emily was ordered to pay restitution over time or face garnishment. After the gavel dropped, I didn't look at her. I just stood, shook Jenna's hand, and walked out. Not a single word passed between us. She didn't follow me this time. And that silence? It was the sweetest sound I'd heard since I stepped off the plane from overseas. Back at the rental, Ethan and I celebrated with grilled cheese and root beer. He didn't understand the court stuff, but he knew something big had changed. He looked up at me, mustard on his chin. We're going home soon, huh? Yeah, bud, I said. We are. And this time, I wasn't coming home to a lie. I was building a new life from the ruins. Not because I had to, because I chose to. 2 weeks later, I stepped back into my house. Not hers anymore. Mine. The keys felt heavy in my hand, like they carried the weight of every betrayal, every sleepless night in a motel, every tear Ethan held back trying to make sense of the chaos. I stood in the doorway for a moment, just breathing in the silence. No lies. No perfume covering up guilt. No more pretending. The living room looked almost the same, except emptier. She'd taken whatever she could in her final, desperate retreat. The TV was gone. Some of the furniture, too. A few photos remained on the wall, mostly of Ethan. But the ones of us, of her and me, torn out of the frames. I picked up one of them. A picture of our son at the beach. Her arm used to be around me in the shot. But now it was just Ethan, smiling at the waves. Alone. It felt poetic. I spent the day cleaning, scrubbing her fingerprints off the kitchen counters, throwing out the sheets she used while Nick was here. I found one of his watches in the bathroom drawer. Left behind, like he forgot this was my life he stepped into. I dropped it in the trash. By sunset, Ethan ran through the door, backpack bouncing, eyes wide. We're really home? Yeah, buddy, I smiled. We're really home. He walked from room to room like he was exploring a castle. I watched him run his hand over the wall where his growth chart used to be. I promised we'd redraw it tomorrow. Fresh start. That night, I tucked him into his old bed, now covered with new sheets, blue ones with little rocket ships. He looked up at me, eyes blinking heavy with sleep. Is Mom still mad at us? I paused. She's figuring herself out. But none of this is your fault. You know that, right? He nodded slowly. I know. I just miss when everything felt normal. I do too. I kissed his forehead. But we've got something better now. We've got truth. He fell asleep holding the stuffed wolf I gave him before I deployed. Still had it. Still held on. A few days later, Emily texted me. You win. I hope you're happy. I stared at the message, unreadable. It wasn't about winning. There were no winners in betrayal. Just survivors. I didn't reply. She tried to ruin me. Had nearly succeeded. But in the end, all she did was teach me how strong I really was. And how fragile love can be when trust is treated like a toy. A week later, I met Jenna for coffee to finalize the last of the paperwork. Custody was now permanent. Emily had visitation rights twice a month, supervised for now. Financial restitution was in motion. She'd avoided jail time, but only barely. Hell of a storm you made it through, Jenna said, sipping her drink. I nodded. Still feels like I'm coming out of a dream sometimes. She smiled. Nightmare, more like. Yeah. But it's over now. She leaned back. So what's next for Tyler Marshall? I thought about it. About the silence in my house, the empty fridge, the job offers I hadn't returned. About Ethan's laugh when we walked past the park, about the way he held my hand like it still meant something sacred. Peace, I said. That's what's next. To anyone reading this, any man standing where I stood. Don't ignore the signs. Don't let love blind you to lies. But more importantly, don't let betrayal break you. There's life after betrayal. There's clarity, fire, purpose. There's a version of you that's sharper, wiser, and more dangerous because of what you've survived. She told the world I abandoned her. But I never abandoned anyone. She abandoned herself, and I came back a better man than I was when I left. Not because of her. In spite of her.